What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. Today, we're talking some college basketball. It is conference tournament time, Monday, March the 11th. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by BetMGM. They have a limited time offer for those of you in legal states with the exception of New York, Puerto Rico, and Nevada. And very important offer this time of year if you're interested in looking at some college basketball games. What you'll do is click the link in the video description below. Make your first deposit of at least $5. Turn that around. Bet $5 in any game, team, total, whatever you want. Whether it wins or loses, you get $150 in the form of bonus bets. And if you're in North Carolina, that jumps up to $200. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 or older to play in most areas. This is $150 you didn't have in your bankroll for conference tournaments, for March Madness, whatever you want. Take advantage of this. I can guarantee you it will not be around forever. All right, weird week coming up. I'm not sure what the videos are going to look like. The prep time obviously is cut way down with the tournaments starting games every day, teams playing back-to-backs, and then the early tip-off. So this kind of functions like a Saturday for me where I don't know what I'll be able to get to, but I'm going to do my best. As always, the best place to find all of the content is on Twitter. I'll try to tweet these out at Matt_Gajewski. And if you want them before lines move, the only place to get that is in our Odd Shopper Discord where I put those the night before. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, the weekend was good. Not too much to say. All these picks were on Twitter. Did not have time for videos, but it was a solid bounce back weekend after a couple tough days. Got some totals correct for the first time in a while, despite getting closing line value quite frequently. Was 4 or 5 on totals over the last 2 days. So that was finally nice to see. Otherwise, a couple weird results. You know, Purdue predictably beats Wisconsin. I did not bet that game, thankfully. It would have been Purdue or pass, and AJ Store ruins a cover for Purdue. I know that goes both ways. Some of you Wisconsin backers are probably happy about that. Illinois runs Iowa. Nice to know that Iowa likely will not be in the field unless we see them win the Big Ten championship, and I can spoil that for you. It's not happening. And Michigan State falls. There's been a lot of talk about Michigan State on the bubble. Should they allow Indiana State in over Michigan State? Michigan State's a better team. I'm sorry if you put this on a neutral floor. Michigan State's going to be favored in that game. It is what it is. All right, let's turn the page to this week, and then we will see some games today. Fun ones. Got a couple big conferences starting. First up, San Francisco, Gonzaga. This conference tournament is a really weird format. Gonzaga and St. Mary's got double byes. So this is the first time we've seen Gonzaga play. San Francisco, they've already played a game. The top play in this contest is the under 151. With all totals, as usual, the crux starts with this is going to move. It's going to come down. Efficiency for both offense is solid, I know, but defense actually a little better, especially on the San Francisco side. But first and foremost, this is straight up going to come down. San Francisco plays below average in terms of pace. They're 198th. And Gonzaga, while they're 79th on the year, they've slowed considerably in recent games. They're down to 148th in pace over the last 6 weeks. So this is a team that's played a little slower. You're now in a conference tournament setting. San Francisco off back-to-back. So their pace does not project to increase here either. And then as far as the offense and defensive stuff goes, San Francisco 106th in offensive efficiency. They'll be challenged by Gonzaga's defense. Matchup-wise, Gonzaga has a tall lineup. That's a problem against San Francisco. Effective height, Gonzaga 56, San Francisco 100th. How does San Francisco score? Well, this is a top 15 team in interior scoring. They're 13th in two-point percentage. This matchup is tailor-made for Gonzaga, who's 11th at defending that area of the court. And from there, San Francisco's outside the top 100 in three-point percentage. That's where Gonzaga's a little weaker on defense. So this is a tough stylistic matchup for San Francisco on paper. Not to mention, you look at the previous matchups, Gonzaga in their most recent game on February 29th, you had San Francisco losing 86-68. That one did go over by a couple points if you use this same total. This is 154 versus the 151.5. And then their first matchup, it was a 77-72 loss. That one went way under, as you can see. So we kind of have a splitting of the totals in this game. But Gonzaga, they were able to get it done twice already against San Francisco. If you forced me to pick a side, it would be Gonzaga or pass. But I think the best number we can get right now is this under 151.5. Second, we go to the Big Sky, I believe. Montana State, Weber State. Another total under 143. This one's going to come down a little bit. Made this around 141.5, 142. I think you made some resistance at that, but a little bit of juice to be squeezed. Similar problems here. Pacing is going to be an issue. Montana State is actually slightly above average in pace, but we're not talking a hyper fast team by any means, 133rd. And then Weber State is a bottom 60 team in pace. They're 303 in adjusted tempo, so just an extremely slow team overall. And then offense is probably going to be a problem for these teams, especially on the Montana State side. This is a team that is 241st in offensive efficiency. Weber State's 147, so they're a little better. And then on defense, both these teams are about average. It's 181 for Montana, 195 for Weber State. So pacing, efficiency stuff does not line up in this game with the current total. It should be a little lower. And then as far as where these teams succeed, where they struggle, you have one team who's pretty decent on offense in both interior and three-point percentage. That's Montana State. They're 64th in effective field goal, 90th in interior scoring, and 60th from three. Weber State is 78th in effective field goal, 49th on the inside, and 156th from three. But both these teams, they do struggle with turnovers at times. Montana State 180th in turnovers committed. Both teams are top 100 in turnovers forced. Montana State often in foul trouble. But ultimately, this is just a pacing thing. When you have 133 and 303 adjusted tempo matching up against each other, you get some value towards the under. That's the top bet in this game. I will say I also did play Montana State at the dog price of +6. We just mentioned some of their shooting stuff. So once you get beyond the 241 versus 147 offensive efficiency numbers, Montana State's actually been better shooting. Just to recap that briefly, effective field goal, Montana State 64, Weber State 78. 2-point percentage is close. Weber State has an edge. It's 49 for them, 90th for Montana State. And then from three, Montana State 60th, Weber State is 156th. Defense is pretty consistent across the board, and Montana State actually has a pretty decent advantage from three. Slight advantage on the interior. I think you can grab a 6 here with these two teams. No real injuries of concern that I found in this game, which makes it worthwhile, I think, on both the Montana State side and the under. Next up, we go to the Summit. St. Thomas takes on South Dakota State. I'm on St. Thomas +2.5. This one, I think, just is closer than the number indicates. Should be about a pick 'em where I make this. Stylistics, St. Thomas actually has better numbers as a whole. Offense slightly favors South Dakota State. The offensive numbers, they're 116th, St. Thomas 130th. Effective field goal, 21 for South Dakota. St. Thomas is 31. Interior scoring is 16th to 24th. From three, St. Thomas actually has a slight edge. It's 55-60. What you're probably gathering from all of these numbers is it's close. There isn't a single scoring metric outside 10 ranking spots between these teams, which is pretty important. And then the defensive side, you do have advantages for St. Thomas, especially when you look at some of the ancillary stuff like turnovers forced, fouls generated. They have edges in both these categories. The one place that worries me is rebounding. It's pretty close on paper, or at least not a drastic advantage South Dakota State's direction, 126 to 234. But effective height does favor South Dakota State pretty heavily. It's 91 to 262. So that's at least worth noting. It's a slight concern for me, but you're getting points with the dog here in St. Thomas. So I think this is worthwhile. Just to briefly touch on the previous matchups, you had South Dakota State winning their last contest. That was the home game for South Dakota State. It was 77-72. And then prior to that, you had a 1-point loss for St. Thomas, 81-80 on their home floor. So they look to right the ship here, but getting points on the neutral. This one makes sense with the shooting being so close between these two teams. All right. We head to the Sun Belt, James Madison and Arkansas State. This is a game where I like a total. You are dealing with the end of the conference tournament here, so we got back-to-backs for these teams. But after a quick start for unders in these situations, overs came roaring back over the weekend. I hit a couple myself. You were seeing just 6-7 point differences based on back-to-backs versus what these games would have been lined total-wise had they been played on normal rest. So I think that is the case here at 152. These teams are both fast. Arkansas State 135th in pace. James Madison is 55th. Both offenses are awesome, basically top 275 units. Arkansas State 54th, James Madison 77th. There's one putrid defense on this game. Arkansas State is 249th. James Madison a little more respectable. But as you can see, pacing definitely lines up. Offensive efficiency certainly lines up. And then some of the stylistics does as well. James Madison is awesome on the inside, scoring 48th. Arkansas State's 111th in interior defense. From three, James 70th. Arkansas State 232 at defending the three. And then, yeah, James Madison is pretty solid on offense and defense, really, across the board, 77th in both metrics. But they are 111th in defending the interior, much better from three. Arkansas State, they play with a pretty good lineup in terms of height. They're 130th there. They do have slight offensive advantages on the glass. That comes via the offensive rebounding category. So they're a little weaker just shooting straight up, but they do rebound the ball well. James Madison, 220th in effective height. They're 73rd in offensive rebounding, 51st in total rebounding. This is one that should come in over just based solely on pace alone and offensive efficiency, as long as these two teams just don't straight up have dead legs from playing multiple games in a row. And let's go to the Horizon League. There's two fun games. It's the Horizon semifinal tonight. The one I want to talk about is Cleveland State taking on Oakland. This is a game that has some injury concerns, so I want to talk about it sort of in terms of the line. Oakland's -5, but I would like to point out our odd shopper tools helping you with this. If you can find a 4.5, it's imperative. Odd Shopper, the name of this channel, the link is below where you can take advantage of all these tools. Basically what it does, you can sort by your state, you can sort by any individual books you use, maybe you only play in a couple, highly customizable. It gives you the best lines that you can possibly take, which makes a huge difference in your bottom line. For reference, I was on Memphis this weekend. The game ended with an 8-point score. I had 8.5, but it closed at 7.5. That's just one example of many this year. We're getting the best number available, helps you straight up between a win or a loss. We also have a ton of tools, a market-based approach, which helps you find plus EV betting spots across sports, not just hoops, hockey, player props, whatever you want. And the Discord's now included. I'm in there, Ben's in there, everyone talking college sports as well as the pro game. We use these tools. We give our picks in the Discord and we give the analysis. So it's a little bit of extra added context. It's $14.95 for a week, $49.95 for a month. No long-term commitments. I think you'll find this very useful. I do. So check it out if you're interested. All right. Oakland -5. Again, grab the 4.5 if possible. There's a big injury. Tristan and Aruna for Cleveland State missed their last game. Late scratch, didn't warm up. No idea how they pulled the upset against Youngstown State, but credit to them. They dug deep and got it done. They're now heading into this game fresh off that weekend performance where Aruna didn't play. And the big concern for me is he didn't warm up, and I don't know what this roster looks like if he doesn't play. Right now, this is lined kind of between him playing and between him being out. If you had a healthy Aruna, it's Oakland -5. So I think this is basically, you have a little bit of juice left to be squeezed on the Oakland side. So one approach you could possibly take is just wait, see if he's in or out when this game is getting close to tip-off and teams are warming up. But if he's out, man, Oakland has just such decided advantages. You can see a lot of them on the screen. Big advantages, both on offense and defense. Effective field goals, massive. Cleveland's 217th. Oakland is 95th. Interior scoring vastly favors Oakland. Cleveland State is 349th in interior defense. Oakland is 106th in interior scoring, which is awesome. That's the best way you want to match up against this Cleveland State team because they defend the three extremely well, 13th there. So being able to score inside is imperative. Oakland is rebounding advantages. This is a team that, I mean, they could easily get Cleveland State in foul trouble too. Cleveland State is 317th in fouls committed. Oakland's never getting in foul trouble. They're 33rd. Oakland is the deeper roster, and they actually picked off some pretty good transfers. Like Rocket Watts, the Michigan State transfer, doesn't even play a meaningful role for this team. He gets like 15 minutes a game. So you have the better roster, the better talent profile, and you have this injury situation that might potentially give you extra line value. So again, I expect this to move a little bit, but if you want to wait till you see the Aruna status, I completely understand that as well. That'll do it for us today. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment below if you have one. If you have any questions, DMs are open on Twitter at @Matt_Gajewski. We'll tweet out any additional picks I make. Same thing with the coming days. If the video's short, if it's like 3 games, you can almost guarantee I'm taking more than that. It'll just be something that has to be tweeted out due to timing. Until then, good luck, everyone. We'll see you next time.